In this video, I'll be talking about how I got 3 software engineering internship offers at Capital One, JP Morgan and Chase, and MongoDB. So those are my offers, and I'll be talking about how I got them. So I've seen some of these videos on YouTube, and I don't know, the advice is kind of vague. So this video is going to be like a case study. I am the case study. Okay, so I'm not saying that this will work for everyone, but it worked for me. So take what you will from this video, from my experience. So first things first, just get this out of the way. Lead code. I did like 300 problems, over 300 problems, and the most important resource I followed was NeetCode. So NeetCode is a YouTube channel with like a bunch of videos, video tutorials on how to solve problems and stuff. But the important resource is NeetCode's roadmap. So the roadmap is just a tree of topics, and within each topic there's a bunch of problems, and you solve it in order and you get better at them. Really useful. That's what I used for half of it. Other half, like the other 150 questions, I just did on my own. So yeah, and I was also very consistent with it, which is also really important. All right, next, hard courses. So I took a course called Operating Systems. That was the hardest course I've taken at Rutgers, where I go, and it was very useful during interviews to talk about, because my interviewers asked me, what's your favorite class? What are some projects you did in it? And I had answers prepared for all of those. Many people say like hard courses, college courses don't really matter. They're not practical. They don't apply to industry, like whatever. I wouldn't listen to that. Some other courses I took include software methodology, databases. I'm taking deep learning next semester. I'm also doing a math minor, which math is generally harder than computer science courses, or at least where I go. So the next thing, take hard courses, but also do well in them. So have a high GPA. So if you still can. So if you don't have, you're like a senior and I don't have a good GPA, don't worry about this one. But if you have the opportunity to get a good GPA, then I recommend that you do it, especially if you don't have much experience. So if you're a sophomore, freshman, even a junior, like try as hard as you can to keep your GPA high, because guess what? When you don't have experience, which is a bunch of people, a lot of people have no experience. Like more people have no experience than people who have experience, if that makes sense. So there's more competition when you don't have experience. So keeping your GPA up is a good way to, differentiate yourself among all the applicant pool. Next, on-campus jobs. So if you have the opportunity at your college campus, I highly recommend an on-campus job. I did this and I gained a bunch of valuable experience. This was my first job actually. And, we developed high-impact projects. I deployed them. I worked with, on-premise servers, and even developed web apps, like a URL shortener tool that we use, which has like amazing statistics that I could boast about on my resume. So, bunch of things. That was actually the biggest contributing factor. It takes up a lot of space on my resume too. Next thing, personal projects. So do personal projects that take you longer than like 2 hours. A YouTube tutorial doesn't cut it. So if you can finish a project over a weekend or like one day, it is not worth having on your resume. You're just filling up white space. So do something that actually interests you. For example, if you want to take inspiration from what I did, I made a chess bot. Why? Because I like chess, and I'm trying to get a job in CS. Combine the two things. CS, chess. Boom, you got a chess bot. And I actually deployed that on AWS. So it's like a good talking point. I used Cloud Platform. I deployed it. I did some system design. I used AWS Lambda, API Gateway, Amplify, different things. And mini-max algorithms, alpha beta pruning. So, it's buzzwords, but that's what you need these days. So there you go. Next thing, have a leadership position. So I'm the backend engineering director at a club called Hack for Impact. That's my talking point. When anyone asks me, are you a leader? I'm like, yeah, this is why. This is what I did. Here's the projects that we did for this club. So this club, actually, we develop software for nonprofits. So You don't have to do a CS club, but I think having a leadership position as a college student is pretty easy actually. Because you can lead an event, you can start a club, you can join a club, and then go to the e-board. Finally, for the general tips, mock interview. So this is that thing that helped me prepare for interviews. I feel like you get the most improvement by just interviewing, but the next best thing is mock interviews, which is what I did with friends. I don't really recommend paying for it unless you don't have friends. There's like websites you can use to pay for mock interviews, but I just did it with friends. And that was extremely helpful. I put up a DM of a conversation of mock interviews that I had, which ended up helping me for my actual interview for one of my companies. So now for the direct reasons, I'll go chronologically. So for Capital One, the most important thing was networking. So after I passed the OA, I was invited to the Power Day. The way I prepared for it was by asking an ex-intern how the interview process was, how to prepare for it, and doing a mock interview with that person. And that helped tremendously because getting yourself familiar with the format, asking what kinds of questions are on the interview, it's just extremely useful. And when you're actually doing the interview, you know what to expect. So that basically cleared a lot of questions up, and I was confident. For JP Morgan and Chase, I attended a hackathon called Code for Good. So I actually didn't even have to interview for this. I just submitted like a cover letter, and they invited me to a hackathon in Delaware. I participated, and I was able to get the offer because we had a good product. I pushed, a bunch of commits, pushed a bunch of code to the repo, and they saw that I was being active. So I guess I did well in it. The next thing, MongoDB, I actually got a referral. So if you have a connection working in one of the companies that you want to work at, ask them for a referral. Even if they're like second degree, third degree connections. I actually got mine from a second degree connection. I asked my boss at my part-time job if they, if he knows anyone at MongoDB, and he did. He gave me their contact. I emailed them, and they were able to give me a referral. And this just helps you differentiate yourself from the rest of the applicants because, little personal touch. So, yeah. So this video wasn't really about giving advice, even though I did. But here's some advice. For resume, I'm going to keep it simple. Quantify your metrics. If you can't do it, I would say just estimate. Use STAR bullets. So situation, task, action, result. That's what STAR is. Search it up if you don't know what that is. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about resumes because there's a lot of info online. If you are a newbie with no experience, do a project. A hard, difficult personal project. Be passionate about what you're doing. And do not use YouTube literally for the project. Like, don't use a YouTube project, a tutorial project. And the other actionable tip is learn Python for interviews. Because if you're doing your technical interview in Java, or even worse, like C or C++, it's fine. C++ is actually okay. But too slow. Come on, too slow. Not the code. The code, it runs fast. I'm saying the writing speed is too slow. You're going to be spending too much time on finding that semicolon with the, but yeah, too many symbols, too much, it's too verbose. So you do Python. Save time. Better. Alright, words are hard.